Hey guys, it's Cheryl from Woodshop Diaries, and in this video we're going to be building boxes. Some will have drawers, some will have doors, but as you'll see in the video, they're all pretty much the same thing and they're specifically designed to be mixed and matched. So you can build whichever ones that you want to create whatever you want, from office built-ins to dressers to media consoles, you name it. I'll show you how to build each one right here in this video, so if you're ready to dive in and get building, let's go. This video was sponsored by Wolfbox. If you saw my last video, you'll know that this is part 2 of a modular furniture series. So these pieces may look a bit familiar because they're obviously designed to match the last project. For this part, we're essentially building 4 different styles of base cabinets. 2 wide and 2 narrow. One of each size will have 3 drawers and one of each size will have glass doors. The assembly of the boxes is pretty much identical for all 4 options, so after we build those, we'll split off and discuss the drawer cabinets and the door cabinets separately. Full transparency, I built 2 of these cabinets a month or so ago, and then I came back and built the others. I did not do a great job at documenting what I did and did not film and in what order. So I've organized this video as best that I could to show you the build process, but if you see some finished pieces in the background, just bear with me. As with most cabinet projects, the first step was cutting down the plywood. Each cabinet gets 2 sides, a bottom panel, and 3 plywood strips. So building these boxes is identical to how I build a regular base cabinet, like for a kitchen. The only difference here is that I designed these without a toe kick. For the back panel, I opted to route a rabbet to inset the back panel. This isn't required. You could definitely just staple the 1/4-inch plywood directly onto the cabinet, but recessing it hides the plywood edges. Instead of chiseling the corner square, I used a jigsaw to round the 1/4-inch plywood panel corners. This doesn't look quite as clean as square corners, but I much prefer cutting with a jigsaw over chiseling, and no one's going to see the back anyway. It's not always on camera, but I spend a lot of my time working in the shop, cleaning my workbench, sweeping the floor, and dusting myself off. I have thought to myself 1,000 times that a mini leaf blower would be so handy to have out here, but I found an even better option. The Wolfbox MegaFlow 200 air duster is my new favorite gadget, and I just want to take it with me everywhere. In the house, in the car, and in the shop. Dusting has never been this fun. With 3 adjustable levels and 4 interchangeable nozzles, it makes carefully cleaning out even the most delicate and intricate tools a breeze. Pun intended. But it's powerful enough to clear large debris off my work surface and clean the piles of buildup out from under my workbench. It's perfect for getting in all of the little nooks and crannies, and also for cleaning out filters. And maybe my favorite use for it, at the end of the day, a quick blow off helps me keep the shop dust in the shop instead of bringing it with me into the house. You can grab your own rechargeable Wolfbox MegaFlow 200 air duster and inflator at the link below. Now that the boxes are together, I moved on to adding the face frame. So the sides and top of my face frame are 1x2s, the bottom is a 1x4, and I use 3/4-inch square dowels to divide my drawers. Also, long story short, I built 2 of these cabinets a month ago and I stained them in Minwax water-based driftwood. But using a water-based stain meant that I needed to stain each piece before assembling, and it was taking forever. So when I built the rest of the cabinets more recently, I switched to an oil-based stain so that I could finish everything at the end. So for the moment, just ignore the stained parts of this project. I built these frames the exact same size as the front of my box, and I assembled with pocket holes. Now, because the 3/4-inch square dowel is so small, you can only fit 1 pocket hole in each end. So I recommend using a little glue on the ends to prevent them from twisting. Then I glued and brad nailed the face frame onto the front of the box. Because I added a face frame, before I can install the slides, I have to install some spacer blocks to help kind of push the slides into the opening. Some scrap 3/4 inch plywood strips work great for this. Then I can attach the slides directly to them. I'll link a separate video below with a full tutorial on how to install drawer slides if you're interested. Also, just an FYI, the cabinet sides here are 20.5 inches deep, so I was able to fit full 20-inch deep drawer slides into the bottom, but for the top drawers, because of the back support, I couldn't fit a full 20-inch slide, so I used 18 inches for the top and 20 inches for the bottom. Now I feel like it's helpful to take a quick look at the drawer cabinet versus the door cabinet to compare. You can see the only difference at this point between the main boxes is the extra dowel divider on the face frame and the 2 extra pair of slides. Otherwise, these cabinets are identical. Another thing these both have in common is a top drawer. So I opted to simply screw the sides together at the corners, but pocket holes here would also work fine. Because this drawer is so shallow, I didn't want to waste any more space inside by cutting a dado, so I just glued and stapled the 1/4 inch plywood panel over the bottom. Then I installed these into each cabinet. I edge banded a piece of 3/4 inch plywood for a slab style drawer front. It's much easier to go ahead and screw on the drawer front before adding the top panel, but after it's in, I had to remove it using the little tabs on the drawer slides so that I could attach the top. So one of my favorite parts about this project are all of the little trim details. They're totally optional, but as you'll see, they add a lot of character and dimension. After cutting my plywood panels to fit over each cabinet, I edge banded the left and right sides. Then I cut and glued some what looks like mini base cap molding across the front. This actually ties into the base cap molding that I added on the top of the matching armoire from my last video. That was intentional. Then I place these onto my cabinet boxes and screw them in through the top support strips. As you can see, Lucy was a very big help with this. Then both cabinets got just a little bit more trim. So I glued Cove molding just under the top, added a thin piece of lattice trim across the top drawer divider, then I added baseboard molding along the bottom. The baseboard and lattice trim is in line with the trim that I added on the previous matching armoire, so everything ties together, which it should since it's designed to be mixed and matched. Now here's where I finally came back to build the rest of the boxes so you can see all 4 styles side by side. 2 wide, 2 narrow, 2 drawer cabinets, 2 door cabinets. Oh wait, I forgot to add the back panel. The 2 skinny cabinets are the same except for the extra divider and the slides, and then the 2 wide ones are the same except for the extra divider and the slides. So here's where things start to differ, so we'll set the door cabinets aside for the moment and focus on the drawer cabinets. For the drawer cabinets, they already have a shallow top drawer, but each one also gets 2 deeper drawers to go into the bottom. I made these drawers 2 different sizes, so I ripped 1 strip of plywood to the height that I needed 1 drawer and another strip to the height I needed the other drawer. Then I cut 1/4 inch dados in each strip so that I can install the 1/4 inch plywood drawer bottoms. I cut these to length, edge banded the tops, and then began assembling my drawer boxes. I will link a detailed video on how I build drawer boxes below if you'd like more information. So normally I assemble my door boxes using pocket holes and screws. However, in this case, I'm not installing a solid drawer front, so the pocket holes would be visible on the front side. Instead, I used pocket holes just on the back, and I used screws through the sides to secure the front piece. If you saw my matching armoire video, I did the same thing there too. That way, the front stays clean, which will make more sense shortly. After I installed these boxes into the bottom section of my cabinet, all that was left was adding the drawer fronts. So for these, I cut 1x2s to make frames that I'll use as my drawer fronts. I call this a cheater style drawer front since it's not a full front, but just a frame. It works great for simple shaker style drawers. I assembled these frames just like the face frame using pocket holes and screws. Then I glued and nailed these onto my drawer boxes. This frame wouldn't be big enough to cover the pocket holes on the front if I had used them there, so that's why I had to assemble the drawer boxes a little bit different in this case. Now the drawer cabinets are complete, so let's shift gears to finish up the door cabinets. Before I get too far ahead, let's take some time to drill a few shelf pin holes to be able to add adjustable shelves into the cabinet. I love adjustable shelves because I'm incredibly indecisive, but if you wanted stationary shelves, that would totally work fine too. Now for the doors. So I normally hate building cabinet doors, but these were actually my favorite part of this entire project. Stick with me because it's not difficult, but there were a few steps. Similar to the matching armoire drawers, I built my door frames using 1x3s. I marked and drilled dowel holes at each corner, then assembled the frame, but first without any glue. I routed a rabbet on the back side of the door about a 1/4 inch deep to add my acrylic into later. Then I cut 1/2 inch square dowels to fit into this frame. Now because these pieces were so small, I swapped the 3/8 inch dowel holes for 1/4 inch dowel holes, and I glued together a T shape with a single dowel at the center. While that dried, I found the center of each door frame side and drilled 1/4 inch dowel holes. Then, after the T-shaped piece had dried, I drilled dowel holes at the center of each end. Then I could assemble the whole frame together with the T-shaped piece in the middle, this time using glue. I have never made a door like this before, but this actually worked out really well. Once the glue was dry, I chiseled the corners square. And by the way, I finally bought a corner chisel, and while I do really like it, it's too small. So I still had to use a regular chisel to finish these. Live and learn, I guess. But it was so worth it because I am so super happy with these doors. But before I can install them, I need to stain. So let's talk about the stain for just a minute. I already mentioned that I stained the first pieces that I built in Minwax water-based driftwood, and I really love the color, but having to stop and stain each piece before assembling was making me dread every step of the process. So I tested a bunch of stains to try and find an oil-based match. And I found something close, but honestly, after I was finished staining everything, it really wasn't close enough that I'm happy with it. So I may end up refinishing the first cabinets to match the mixed stain color. I'm not sure. But for now, just know that I already know these aren't a perfect match. You don't have to remind me. I'm still debating on what to do about it. But after the doors were stained, I could come back and install my concealed hinges. Then I cut some acrylic panels to glue into the back. I mentioned this on my previous video, but inset face frame hinges are a pain to install and they're expensive. An easy workaround is just to use inset frameless hinges and add some little spacer blocks behind the hinge. This essentially makes the cabinet frameless as far as the hinges are concerned. Then, because these hinges do tend to pull the door in, I nailed a tiny stop block to the back of the face frame just under the drawer to keep them flush. So now we have 4 options of modular base cabinets to mix and match. There are so many ways to arrange these, but if you do plan to put a few together, you may also want to consider just skipping the individual tops and adding one single top to cover all of the cabinets. I am so excited with how this modular set is turning out, and I love all of the possible options. You could pair 2 or 3 drawer cabinets together for a dresser, add an armoire for even more storage, make a media center with glass door cabinets. I'll also be sharing mix and match upper shelving units to go on top soon, plus desk options to mix in with these as well. So I hope you'll stay tuned and follow along to see the rest of the modular system soon. For now, thank you guys so much for watching these come together, and until next time, friends, happy building!